Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a review on the new Dior Forever Hydra Nude Foundation. This is Dior's newest foundation release. It looks like they're replacing another foundation. I'm not exactly sure because it hasn't officially been discontinued, but that is what Dior does a lot of the time. They will discontinue one foundation and bring out a new foundation. But I was really excited about this foundation specifically because it looks like, not that it's exactly the same as my Dior, my Super Potent Serum Foundation, because that is mostly a skincare slash makeup hybrid. But this is also supposed to be a makeup slash skincare hybrid, and it's not replacing the Super Potent Serum Foundation, but it is similar in the sense where it does contain more skincare ingredients, and those are just my favorite foundations of all time. If you guys don't know, my holy grail foundation is the Chanel Sublimage L'Essence de Tint foundation. I really, really love that foundation, and I just love trying a skincare-based foundation. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about this foundation. I did pick this up from the Dior website, and I purchased it in the shade 2.5N, and shipping was really great from Dior. They also put it in this like really beautiful box. Like it came in this gorgeous box, which I think is just really cute. And this does come in a glass bottle, which I really enjoy. I would rather have glass than plastic. Again, I think it's a little bit more luxurious. This was $78. So I'm just going to read you the description that Dior provides on the website. For this first time, Dior captures natural perfection in a foundation that has imperceptible finish with a bare skin effect and a 24-hour wear. Infused with hyaluronic acid, it delivers 48 hours of hydration and lets the skin breathe all day long. Composed of 96% natural origin ingredients and mineral pigments, in perfect affinity with the skin, its fresh, lightweight formula, drenched with at least 50% water, blends effortlessly to achieve a natural result. So it's supposed to be a second skin natural perfection finish. It's supposed to wear for 24 hours, which I'm not going to wear this for 24 hours, but I am going to wear it all day long and do an all-day wear test. It's supposed to be a medium coverage that's imperceptible on the skin with no makeup feel. There's a skincare base to it. It's infused with hyaluronic acid for 48 hours of hydration. And there are 18 shades and 3 undertones, and it is non-comedogenic as well. So I'm going to give this a good shake because I think foundation does apply better when you give your foundation a good shake. And again, I purchased the shade 2.5N. I'm just going to start with 1 pump of this foundation. So that is the shade 2.5N. And even though this is described as a neutral tone, I do think it pulls a little bit warm. I'm going to take this Rephr. This is a B04 brush, but they re-released this brush, and I believe it's called the LC03. I'm going to leave it down below, but this is my absolute favorite foundation brush. And I have tested out this foundation a few times, so it is not a first impression. I typically don't like to do first impression videos just because I don't actually think first impressions are very helpful. You can really change your mind about a product. So I do want to say that this is a very fragrance product. It does smell like a perfumey fragrance versus it being like, if I am describing the Chanel Sublimage L'Essence, that does have a fragrance, but it smells like it's the skincare in the fragrance versus it being like a perfume. This smells like a floral perfume, and it is very strong. I'm sorry, it is like too strong for my preferences. I'm going to take a second pump because I do think it is beautiful with 1 pump. You get a light coverage. I don't think it is quite a medium coverage. I would say it's light. Things definitely look more like blurred and smooth on the skin, but I don't have a ton of coverage. I can still see redness and pink peeking through my skin. So I'm going to just show you how buildable this is. I'm actually not going to use the whole second pump. I think that's a little bit too much product for my face. I'm just going to take half of that pump and I'm going to go in. So I would agree that this is a second skin-like finish. It is very, very skin enhancing. It is very beauty enhancing. It is not something that you are going to see sitting on top of your skin. So this is the type of product I am going to love to utilize in the spring and summer, especially when I'm going to more outdoor events, because this is the type of product that is just going to sit really beautifully on the skin. And like I said, it's going to be undetectable on the skin. It's such a skin-like finish that when you're outdoors in natural light, you're not going to be able to detect it sitting on the skin. And I have tested this, like I went outdoors into natural light and observed everything with my mirror, and you can't see it sitting on the skin. It's really beautiful. So I do have a little post blemish mark like right here. Oh, covered it a little bit with that foundation. And it's not completely concealing it. Like there is still a little bit of redness poking through, but I don't care. Honestly, I don't care if a little bit of that shows through. Like on a daily basis, I probably wouldn't even go back in and conceal that. You could build it up a little bit in that area. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of that extra foundation. But I'm not too bothered because it's just like one mark on my skin and I don't really care. Like no one's skin is absolutely flawless and perfect. So I like that this lets my natural skin texture show through. I like that you can still see freckles peeking through. You can see, I actually think that did a really good job. Like I don't see any of the redness in my skin anymore. And it's done a really great job of evening out my skin tone without it being a high coverage product. Like there's definitely not detectable on the skin, which is just so beautiful how it is very skin-like. I like that this doesn't look like a makeup product. Like to me, I could still apply this and it doesn't look like I'm wearing a foundation, which I really, really enjoy. So I'm not going to use that whole amount of product. I'm going to go for a really skin flattering, a skin enhancing look today. So I'm just going to keep everything looking really natural. I'm going to take the Chantecaille. This is the Sheer Glow Bronze Face Tint. And I like to just use, so I got this like little applicator. This actually came with the Clé de Peau, the foundation. But I just like to use that and I'll apply just a little bit. And I'm going to use that as my cream bronzer today. And of course, I wanted to mention the blurring effect because that is something that I look for in a foundation. I do think it has a very soft, subtle smoothing effect, but it isn't anything as, like I would say this Chantecaille Sheer Glow Bronze Face Tint does have a more blurring effect to it. And my Chanel Sous Blamage L'Essence de Teint has a more blurring effect. This does just have a slight smoothing effect, but it's not as filtered as some of my other products, but it is still beautiful. So I'm just going to take that Chantecaille Sheer Glow Bronze Face Tint and I am distributing that onto my hand with a BK Beauty 106. And I'm just going to use that to bronze up the face. I do like to do this before foundation. And this is just such a beautiful product. I love how it enhances the skin just so softly and subtly. It gives me warmth to my complexion without it being overwhelming. It is, I would say, the most undetectable bronzer in my collection, except a very close second is like the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Transforming Skin Enhancer. These are very, very similar products. The Chantecaille one's just a little bit warmer, so I like to use that if my foundation's a little bit more neutral, or if I just have a fresh self-tan on, which I actually do. Again, because I'm going for that really skin-enhancing look, and I'm wearing red, I feel like picking something that's neutral to leaning a little bit warm is going to be really beautiful. I'm going to take this Westman Atelier Baby Cheeks Blush Stick in the shade Mimi. One of my amazing subscribers recommended this Mimi blush, and she is right. It is so beautiful. It's definitely my favorite Westman Atelier blush. It might even be my favorite cream blush of all time. I'm taking this on a BK Beauty N15 brush. This is so beautiful. This is like the perfect neutral tone blush. It doesn't lean too cool or too warm. It is literally that perfect tawny beige. I think that's what it's described as on the website as well. It's literally a tawny beige. It's that perfect mix of a pink and a beige. It is so pretty. I really suggest you guys pick up this blush. I really enjoy this formula too because it has enough pigmentation, but it's not overly pigmented. It's a nice creamy formulation, but again, not too creamy. I think this would work well on all skin types. And okay, so the fragrance on this foundation does dissipate eventually, but I can still smell it on my skin. Like, I feel like it's getting in my mouth a little bit. It is like very strongly fragranced, but it does dissipate after about 20 minutes. But right now it's still a little bit overwhelming. Now I'm going to go in with a little bit of concealer, and I wish I had my Dior concealer. I'm actually going to repurchase it because I want to do a Dior specific video. I'm just going to take this Westman Atelier concealer in the shade M1. I'm just going to put a little bit under my eyes, and now is when the look is going to come together because it does look a little bit odd when you have cream bronzer on and cream blush without a concealer on. So I am just going to conceal. You can see I just went in with that one dot of product, A little bit goes a long way with this concealer, but I still think you can get a more skin-like appearance if you really thin out this concealer on the skin. So you just go in with that really small amount of product and just really thin it out on the complexion. I'm blending out that concealer with this Refer BO5. Again, I believe the name of this brush has changed, and I believe it's just the color of the bristles that they changed, so they didn't actually change this brush. And this is such a great concealer brush. I really recommend it. I'm literally going to keep the skin like that. I'm going with the Chanel Rouge Coco Gloss in the shade 804 Rose Naif. I'm just going to use this by itself. Again, I don't want anything that is too makeup-y. I want to keep everything looking really natural. And then I am just going to go in with a touch of powder, and for that I'm going to use my Clé de Peau Refining Pressed Powder. And I'm going to take that on a Refer 19 brush. It's a very like soft, fluffy brush. And I'm just going to dust a little bit of that under my eyes. And then I'm just going to touch this right in the middle of my chin, right in the pore area right here, and just in the center of the forehead where I get a little bit shiny throughout the day. But I'm only going to touch product there, and then I'm just going to keep everything as is. And so going over this foundation, I do think the claims are very correct on Dior's site, how it says that it's a natural perfection foundation that has an imperceptible finish with a bare skin effect. I really agree. It does really look like skin, but it looks like my skin is just more beautified. It's just naturally enhanced. I like that I can still see freckles peeking through. I can still see a little bit of pigmentation showing through. Like I said, I have a little bit of post-blemish mark right here. I don't really care that you can see it though, like on an everyday basis. Like no one has completely flawless, perfect skin. I just really like how it looks. And to me, this is more of a, like it's not super glowy on my skin, but I also have pretty dry skin and my skin's even drier. Like this is the driest my skin has ever been, and I am incorporating a retinol into my routine. So I feel like this foundation is really perfect for me right now because of how dry my skin is. But I just love how it looks. And now that I've had that Clé de Peau Refining Pressed Powder, things do look really blurred and smooth and filtered on my complexion. It definitely looks more blurred and filtered when I add that powder over top. But it is just so pretty on the skin. It truly just looks like your natural skin is enhanced. So I really enjoy that. And now I will say that the fragrance has dissipated. So again, I don't love that there is a fragrance added. I feel like, especially because Dior is claiming that this is a more like a breathe all day and it's composed of 96% natural origin ingredients, they are going for that more natural quality in their products. So I'm just confused why you'd add a fragrance to that if you are going for that more natural approach with your ingredients. That kind of just contradicts itself. I feel like currently a lot of people would actually prefer to not have fragrance in their cosmetics. So I would just prefer if they removed it completely. I feel like so many of you agree with me. And I know not everyone is sensitive to fragrance, and I'm not personally sensitive to fragrance. I just would like a cleaner ingredient list, and I would prefer it off the ingredients completely. But besides the point, I do think this foundation is beautiful. It is lightweight on the skin. It looks incredibly natural. And I'm excited to show you how this holds up throughout the day because I do think it's a really beautiful everyday foundation. This is a light, buildable to max medium coverage. You're not going to be able to get a full coverage look out of this. On me, this is more of like a satin finish. It's not completely glowy. It just gives a very skin-like finish. But I do think if you have normal skin, it is going to be more on definitely a straight up satin finish, if not slightly glowy. It's just not completely glowy on me because of how dry my skin is. But I am going to be back at the end of the day for my, I'm going to make it to 8 hours. So I'll be back for an 8-hour check-in and just show you how this foundation holds up all day and my final thoughts on it. But since this is not a first impression, I'm just going to leave you with my final thoughts right now. This is a truly beautiful foundation, and I'm really impressed with how it holds up throughout the whole day. It doesn't break apart or anything. So for me, I really like this as an everyday foundation choice because even though it looks really natural on the skin, it holds up really, really well all throughout the day. And at the end of the day, you will see that reflected in how it wears. But again, I will show you it at the end of the day. So I will be back for that final check-in. So I'm back from my final check-in, and I have been wearing this foundation for 8 hours, and I think this foundation held up really beautifully. I have gone out and looked at it at different lights. In natural daylight, like I said, this just is a really beautiful in-person looking makeup. It looks really pretty in person. It's virtually undetectable like it's stated on the website. And Dior does claim this is going to add 24-hour hydration. And I do think it's a very lightweight, comfortable foundation. Like throughout the day, I don't notice, like I don't feel it on my skin throughout the day. It doesn't feel uncomfortable. It never feels more drying throughout the day. This is a foundation that you can have on your skin without it, again, feeling dry. This is not a foundation I would wear for like special occasions just because it is that light coverage, buildable to a medium, but I probably would just keep this at a light coverage. I think it holds up the best that way. It just looks the most skin-like when you keep it at that really beautiful light coverage. And it just has a really nice skin-like quality because it's not completely glowy on my skin, which I really like because I don't like a foundation that's super glowy on the skin. I feel like it can look a little phony, like your skin isn't all completely glowy. So I like it when things look a little bit more matte in certain areas. At this point, I think I could just go in with a powder and touch up, and I think it would perform really nicely. Like I'm just going to go in with this BK 102 just because it's right in front of me, and I could just go in with a little bit of powder, and I think it looks just as, maybe not just as nice, but it looks really nice. I really just like the skin-like quality to this foundation, and I just think it looks really beautiful. Like throughout the day, I noticed that it was still looking really, really nice, and I feel like as the day went on, my skin actually looked more blurred, which is interesting. Like you heard me talk about it on initial impressions. I was kind of like, this isn't the most blurring foundation, but throughout the day, I actually feel like 3 hours into this, it actually looked really beautiful, and my skin did look a little bit more soft focused than it did at the start, which is kind of interesting. So I'm really happy with this. And also, I am someone like throughout the day, I'm not just sitting. I did go to the gym and I did a strength training workout, and I also walked throughout the day. So I did about 12,000 steps on top of everything. So I think for being fairly active, this is a really nice performing product as well. It did fade a little bit on my chin, but I did notice like I was working and I was going like this throughout the day. So that's probably why it faded off my chin. I think it just looks really beautiful. Like it fades away very naturally as the day goes on. So it's one of those foundations where it's not going to come off in patches. But of course, at the end of the day, it is going to, fade off very naturally, but it's not patchy in any way. It doesn't look cakey anywhere. I think the pore area looks fantastic, especially now that I powdered. This is going to be one of my new favorite daily foundations. I feel like if I could compare it to any foundation, because I know a lot of you guys are going to ask, I would say it's very similar to like the Chantecaille Future Skin Foundation. The effect that it gives. I do think that this foundation has a little bit more coverage than the Chantecaille Future Skin. Yeah, I would definitely compare it to the Future Skin or even something. And that this is a more water-based product, which that Chantecaille is as well. And it has performed really well with all my skincare. I haven't had any issues yet. But for me, this is a perfect everyday foundation. This is the perfect amount of coverage, the perfect amount of hydration. I do think that if you have an oilier skin type, I still actually think this would work out, but maybe just go in with a mattifying primer, and then you would obviously need to powder, and you might need to powder throughout the day, just in the center of your face. But I do think this is a product that would work for all skin types because with my dry skin, I think that this gave me a nice glow, but it's not overly glowy. And I just think it would hold up on all different skin types. I really like that you can see your skin texture through it. I think the claims are right with this one. I think that this glass bottle is beautiful. I'm just very impressed with everything about this so far. The one downside I want to say is that the shade range is not like the most fantastic thing ever. And also I really dislike that there's a fragrance. I really hope Dior is going to reformulate this probably in 2 years. And I really hope that when they are reformulating products for their next go around, because I think we're at that time where Dior is going to be reformulating a lot. I really hope they choose to remove fragrance from their product because it's so strong. It's actually offensive to me. It is so overly fragrance. Like at least calm it down because this is too much fragrance. But that's the only downfall that I really have to say. I'm really enjoying this as a daily foundation. I think it is just beautiful. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts on this foundation. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Like this video if you like it, and I'll see you in my next video.